Everyone said it was a waste of money. Critics called it underpowered, outdated before it even flew. A budget jet with no place in a modern air force. They said Italy and Brazil were dreaming if they thought this little jet could survive a real war. But then the mountains of Afghanistan happened. Then the deserts of Libya. And the jet everyone mocked? It didn't just survive, it proved its critics wrong. From joke to warrior. Map linking Italy and Brazil to a central aircraft silhouette. In the 1980s, the world was obsessed with Mach 2 speed and high-end air combat. But Italy and Brazil went against the grain. They built the AMX International, known in Italy as the A-11 Ghibli. It wasn't built for dogfights. It wasn't built for glamour. It was built for the grit of the battlefield. This is the story of how a joint venture between Air Italia, Air Macchi, and Embraer turned skepticism into something far more enduring. A combat-proven workhorse that showed why cheap, simple, and reliable still matter in modern warfare. If you love underdog stories that challenge superpower assumptions, you're in the right place. Before we get into how the AMX was built, it's worth asking a bigger question. Why do aircraft like this get written off so quickly? Modern air power culture is obsessed with extremes. Top speed, radar cross-section, kill ratios. If a jet doesn't dominate those charts, it's labeled irrelevant. But that way of thinking quietly ignores how most air wars are actually fought. They're not decided at Mach 2. They're decided at low altitude, in bad weather, over broken terrain, where persistence, sensor time, and coordination matter more than raw performance. The AMX didn't lose the argument because it was bad. It lost the argument because it wasn't playing the same game. To understand why the AMX was underestimated, you have to understand the era. It was 1980. The US had the F-15. The Soviets had the MiG-29. Speed was king. But Italy had a different problem. They needed to replace the aging Fiat G91 with an aircraft that could operate from rough, semi-prepared runways without bankrupting the Air Force. Brazil joined the effort. Embraer partnered with Air Italia and Air Macchi to design a dedicated subsonic ground attack aircraft. The goal was simple: a lightweight, affordable platform optimized for close air support and reconnaissance. When the first Italian prototype flew on May 15, 1984, reactions were mixed at best. Many observers questioned the design choices. It was subsonic. It had a single engine. And in an age obsessed with speed, that led many to assume it was limited by design. The AMX wasn't dismissed because it failed to meet expectations. It was dismissed because it rejected them. What the critics missed was the philosophy behind the aircraft. The AMX wasn't built for air shows. There's a reason Italy and Brazil didn't chase supersonic speed. At low altitude, speed is a liability. It shortens reaction time. It reduces sensor dwell. It burns fuel faster. Subsonic aircraft can loiter. They can orbit. They can stay where the fight actually is. For close air support, the ability to be there matters more than how fast you arrived. The AMX wasn't slow by accident. It was slow on purpose. It was built for reality. It was optimized for close air support and tactical reconnaissance, with stable, low-altitude handling and systems designed for survivability. Italian AMXs were equipped with an internal 20mm Vulcan cannon, the same family of weapon used by aircraft like the F-16, and later upgraded with advanced targeting and reconnaissance pods. But perhaps its greatest advantage was cost. Compared to larger twin-engine strike aircraft, the Ghibli was significantly cheaper to operate, allowing it to loiter longer and fly more missions for the same budget. A good price tag doesn't earn respect. Combat performance does. In November 2009, the Italian Air Force made a decision that surprised many observers. They deployed 4 A-11B AMX aircraft to Afghanistan, replacing some missions previously flown by the larger Panavia Tornado. Skepticism followed immediately. How would a small, subsonic jet handle the altitude, heat, and terrain of the Hindu Kush? Over the next several years, the answer became clear. The Ghibli proved reliable, persistent, and well-suited to the mission. It flew thousands of sorties and accumulated nearly 10,000 flight hours in the Afghan theater. Using modern reconnaissance pods, it delivered high-quality intelligence to forces on the ground and provided close air support when required. By the time the final combat sortie was flown on May 28, 2014, the AMX had established a reputation for operational effectiveness in one of the most demanding environments on Earth. In Afghanistan, persistence mattered more than speed, and the Ghibli delivered. Replacing the Tornado in Afghanistan wasn't a small decision. The Panavia Tornado was a heavyweight. Twin engines, high speed, deep strike pedigree. But it was also expensive, maintenance-intensive, and optimized for a different kind of war. By handing those missions to the AMX, Italy was making a statement that endurance could matter more than dash speed, that availability could matter more than prestige, that flying more missions could matter more than flying faster ones. This wasn't just about aircraft, it was about redefining what effective air power actually looks like. If Afghanistan tested endurance, Libya in 2011 tested precision. During Operation Unified Protector, Italian AMXs operated as part of NATO's air campaign, equipped with modern precision-guided weapons and targeting pods. Flying from Italian bases, they integrated seamlessly with NATO forces, providing close air support and reconnaissance alongside some of the most advanced aircraft in the world. By this point, the AMX was no longer seen as a stopgap solution. It had become a trusted operational asset, not because it was flashy, but because it worked. The AMX isn't an exception. NATO has a long history of relying on aircraft that look unimpressive on paper. The A-10, the Harrier, even armed turboprops in modern counterinsurgency roles. These aircraft survive because wars don't always reward elegance. They reward reliability. They reward simplicity. They reward platforms that can keep flying when everything else is grounded. The AMX fit that mold perfectly. Here's the part that surprises people the most. If the AMX really was obsolete, why did it stay in service for more than 3 decades? The answer is simple, because replacing it meant finding something that could do everything it did, at the same cost, with the same availability. And that turned out to be harder than expected. The AMX wasn't kept around out of nostalgia. It was kept because it still made sense. The story of the AMX Ghibli is a reminder that not every winning weapon looks impressive on paper. Born as a modest joint project between Italy and Brazil, the AMX was never meant to dominate air shows or headlines. Instead, it focused on what mattered most: reliability, affordability, and effectiveness in combat. There's a quiet rule in military aviation. If pilots fight to keep an aircraft flying, it's usually because it earns its place. The AMX did exactly that. By staying in the fight long after its critics had written it off, the Ghibli earned something far more valuable than hype. It earned respect. So what do you think? Is the AMX the ultimate little jet that could? Or were its limitations always going to cap its potential? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. And if you enjoy stories about underestimated machines that prove their worth in combat, subscribe to Steel Beasts. More stories are coming.